Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Real DMV, your backstage pass to everything film-related in the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area. Well, Dean, we're back.
You're getting better at that.
Another week.
Yeah.
Well, it only took me 15 takes. So, I like to always cover a little bit of little nugget that I learned in class this week. You know, in real life, I don't have a problem interrupting anybody or stepping on their dialogue.
I know.
However, this week, we went through M dashes.
M dashes.
M dashes are, when you're looking at a script and you're doing your script breakdown, you've got ... dots. Everybody knows what that is. But the M dashes are the two dashes that come after a line. That's triggering you, telling you as the actor I always wondered what tells somebody as an actor it's okay to step on someone's lines.
Right.
So acting can get extremely technical.
Yeah, that's a good point. And our next guest probably has a little bit more information on that too, because he literally wrote the book
on M dashes.
No, but he did write the book on a lot of other things. So we talk a lot about success on this podcast to kind of segue. How you define it, what it means to you to be successful these days. And it's very rare that we have a guest on that literally wrote the book on how to be successful. Specifically, strategies for success as an actor. We plugged his book on our episode with Katie Kalaki, actress and our coach in Capital Coaching. But today we get to ask him what his thoughts are about how he defines success. And if you're a new actor, you're going to want to stick around for this, because if you're wondering about choosing the right acting coach, writing your resume, picking a wardrobe and backdrop for your headshots, finding the right headshot photographer, and even handling nerves in auditions, which was interesting to read about. You don't want to miss this. Actor and author of the Actor's Playbook, Strategies for Success, which is on Amazon right now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Actor and author of the Actor's Playbook, Strategies for Success. I give you Mr. Gary Mason. There we go.
Hey, Gary, welcome.
Thanks. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Our in-studio audience gets a little excited.
I know. It's such a big space.
It's a big space. Our audience over here, and our audience of one, our cat, and both of our subscribers.
Right.
So, hey, everybody.
We have three this week. We have three.
It
was one of them's me.
Yeah, one of them's me. So we have one subscriber.
and one of them's me. So, I mean, I think that's
We're all
all
here.
Oh, then we have more than 4 subscribers. It's great.
I guess when you get older, you talk to yourself. That's what we're doing here. Right.
And I used to say, as long as you talk to yourself and not answer yourself, you're okay. Now I answer myself. I just don't care.
The problem is when you don't hear yourself and you have to ask to be.
That's
right?
true.
I mean,
That's true. Number one, you started as an extra on Dopesick. We'll get to the book. Part of this is in the book, too, so maybe we can segue into that. But tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up getting into acting.
Right. So, as you mentioned, I did 20 years in the Navy active duty, retired in 1999, and then almost immediately went to work for the federal government under the Department of the Navy, and kind of worked my way up, worked for them for 21 years, retired in the end of 2020. So we had been home for a year because of COVID. And during that time, I thought, I'm going to need something to do when I retire. So I started actually recording audiobooks and doing voiceover. And I found that I'm not a very good audiobook narrator. But around the end of 2020, right around November, I saw an advertisement for this background role in Dopesick. I didn't know it was Dopesick yet, but background role. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to apply for this. And if I get it, it's just going to be such a hoot. It'll never happen, but, it's going to be a hoot. And then I got it, right? And so I retired December 30th. And on January 2nd, I was on set with Dopesick down in Richmond. And I was completely blown away and amazed by the whole thing. And this never happens to people, right? This was a Hulu Disney production, Dopesick.
Just great show, Michael Keaton.
Yep, fantastic. And it was the first time I was ever on set. Nobody gets to be on a set like this for the first time. So I was just totally blown away by it. And, I watched what the principal actors were doing. And I just thought, man, I have to do that. I just have to do that.
So you got the bug from Dopesick.
I got the bug from Dopesick.
And you probably learned a ton on set.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. you can't learn the kind of things on an independent film that you do in a professional SAG production, right? I mean, it was amazing.
When you applied, did you need a headshot? Did you need a resume? What did you use to apply?
So it was a website, and I went there and I put my name and contact information, of course, and then they needed a snapshot. I didn't need a professional headshot. I just wanted to see what I looked like, so I just submitted a couple, like a sort of headshot-ish selfie, and then a more of a full body thing, and submitted that. No resume, nothing.
That's
really.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Everybody
it's-
assumes, to get on that show of that magnitude, you got to have it all.
I mean, yeah, it just sort of happened for me. It was amazing, really.
So you have Virginia roots, or
Well-
you were in Virginia.
I was in Virginia.
Okay,
So
and-
I actually have Ohio roots,
Got it.
and
Okay.
then like Navy everywhere.
Right.
Right. And then when I came to DC, I lived in Virginia.
But right now you're living in South Carolina.
South
That's a new
Carolina.
move for you. And
I'm living just outside of Charleston. I moved there last October. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to find the community there. And even though they film The Righteous Gemstones in Charleston, and even though they're filming, there's a couple of other things that they film. Outer Banks gets filmed there too,
Right.
parts of it. And it just there isn't a huge acting community there. So I sort of aimed at Atlanta. And I found this Jesse Malinowski and his Get Scene Studios. So
you fell right back into another community that's a little bit sounds like the DMV, where it's outside of a main Atlanta hub, New York hub, LA hub. Everybody has to find their own acting footing,
right.
point their target at a hub, Atlanta for that one.
Yeah, thankfully Atlanta is so here your main hubs are Philly and New York, right? And a little bit of Baltimore, but not as much as New York and Philly. There in Atlanta, it's just a little bit easier to get into because there's so much more going on in it. Right now they're filming 11 series in Atlanta.
Let's go back to the book for a second.
Okay.
You begin with, and we're going back to Dopesick too. You begin with your experience on Dopesick. That's where you got the acting bug. And then take us through the impetus for the book, the seed for the book, exactly how you decided to figure out, okay, there needs to be a book like this. This is what I need to include.
I mean, the truth is, so I've been at this for 4 years now, right? Acting. So Dopesick, January 2021. I made a lot of mistakes, training that I didn't need. And there's so many aspects of the trade that you just don't really know about until you've made the mistake and learned from it. Spent a ton of money on things I didn't need to spend money on. And I just thought, for somebody just getting into this, I'd like to just, here's my experience. This is what I've learned. You should start out with this, right? Instead of making all those same mistakes that I did.
Yeah. And this is it's a pretty extensive book. I mean, you go into actor anxiety in auditions. You go into taking headshots and having the right background, having the right wardrobe. Those things are important.
Very important, right? And so the other thing is, so you talk about headshots. I mean, actor headshots are not like any other type of photograph on the planet, right? So you need someone who knows and is experienced with actor headshots, right? Because your headshot is supposed to portray a character, right? I mean, so when you use your headshots, you know this. If I'm going up for a cop, I better have a headshot that makes me look like a cop or a judge or a whatever, right? So your photographer has to know how to capture that.
That's totally on point. In fact, I just had mine done by DJ Corey. Shout out to DJ Corey. He's a local
Shout out, DJ.
photographer. He's also an actor, so he does exactly that.
So my guy, I'll plug my guy. Jeremy Buston was a Richmond photographer, also an actor, right?
Yeah.
And he recently moved to Atlanta. So now I've got my headshot photographer followed me. Well, actually, he was there before me, but he comes up to Richmond a couple times a year. He'll be in Richmond and Alexandria this year.
But back to your original point, like when I started this, all I had was what I had, my LinkedIn type photo. It got me a couple gigs. But then as you start moving along, you realize I need to get a little more professionalized.
Right. So. And, everyone starts at zero.
Right.
Everyone starts at zero. So if you don't have it, you don't have it. You can't stress about it, right? You just got to keep working until you have what you need. And then when it's time for you to go spend money on a set of real professional headshots, you'll know.
And we were talking backstage about the networking aspect of this and how everyone's out to help everybody. And sometimes you're not going to know who to go to until you've been doing this for a few months or a year. You're going to want to go to the people that everyone else knows about, or at least has talked about, or avoid the ones that are red flags and things like that.
Right, and that was a couple of my expensive mistakes, right? So I went to a guy who said he was a headshot photographer, and I got corporate headshots basically.
Yeah.
That were useless, and I did the same thing. This guy said, "Oh no, I know all about actor headshots," and yeah, sure. And I finally asked somebody and got Jeremy's name.
Well, and something that we also learned, we ended up going to the Virginia Production Alliance. They had a panel, and something useful was that somebody on the panel was experienced with LA, New York, Atlanta, and the DMV, and they could attest to the fact that actor headshots in the DMV look different from actor headshots in LA, look different from actor headshots in Atlanta. There's just a different look to these things.
Right.
I think ours tend to be a little more buttoned up and FBI-ish and law enforcement-ish and things like that, because these are the roles we get in this area.
Government-centric.
Government-centric.
Which is what led you down here.
I actually avoided the DMV like the plague while I was on active duty. I did not want to be here. If you want to advance, this is the place to be. So all the senior people are here. If you want to be the senior people, you come here.
So when you were here in the DMV, what was your experience being an actor here?
I mean, it's a tough place to be as an actor, right? So there are not a ton of SAG level jobs here. There's a movie, I did a background stint on Rustin down on the mall. And then, there was We Own This City and Lioness. And there was probably one more, and I can't think of what it is.
You did We Own This City in Lioness?
I didn't do Lioness, but I did do a background role on We Own This City. But it was interesting. I was there for 2 days, and all dressed up, no place to go, never got in front of the camera the whole time. Of course, I paid me for those 2 days anyway.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Can you talk about the book writing process? Like how hard was that to start? How long you been thinking about doing it?
I've been thinking about doing it for a while. I've actually got 3 books.
Oh.
One is Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Getting Started in Voiceover, but didn't know who to ask.
I remember. That's right.
And then, of course, there's the acting book. And I just wrote one about RVs because we live in an RV full time right now. And somebody called me and said, "Hey, they just spent 2 hours on the phone asking me questions." So I said, "Well, screw it. I'm just going to write it all down." So I did. Research is the hardest part, right? So you know in your head what it is you want to say, but you can't really prove it. And, what are the real details of that? You just got to go research. I did all these different techniques in the book, Meisner and Stanislavski and Uta Hagen, but I never studied under any of them. So I've read some stuff by them, but I had to go dig and, kind of figure out what it was and what does the Meisner technique really teach, right? Yeah, and just write it.
You break it down very eloquently in the book. Everything that you bring up, the acting reels, headshot, all that stuff is broken down into segments to make it easy to read and digest. Right. It's the for dummies version for me.
Yeah, and you don't have to read the whole thing, right? It's great if you do, but you can just look in the table of contents and say, "Oh, I want to learn a little bit about headshots," and so you just go to that section and you can read about it.
Yeah. And now you have an acting reel.
Yes.
Who did the
another place where I made mistakes and spent too much money?
Oh, can you explain that?
Well, so the first thing you need to know is you don't need an acting reel, right? I mean, nobody's looking at your acting reel. When you're on Actors Access and you click Show the Reel, they're not watching your reel because they don't have time. You get 3 minutes. I mean, it's just longer than your audition. So what you need is a bunch of clips from things that you've done, and you put those up. And, you pay by the minute on Actors Access for these things.
You do.
And that's what you need. And so when you're submitting for a job, let's just say I'm submitting for a comedy, I'm going to show the lottery clip, right? Because it's funny, right? Look, I can be funny. And that's what you really need. When you need a reel, you put it on your website so other people can look and say, "Oh, look what he's done." Or, if you're trying to find an agent, right? If you're trying to find an agent, you're gonna reach out to them, and you'll send your reel, right? You send so they can look at, oh, he's bookable, right? He's booked jobs. That's what you need the reel for.
That's a good distinction, though. Who's actually using that and for what?
Right.
You're likely right. There's casting directors don't have time to go through all that, but it's going to get you an agent,
Right.
potentially. The bookable piece. You keep touching on lessons learned and mistakes, and you've got a lot under your belt. So, what other, looking back, God, I wish I had known or didn't do moments?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had known that when I'm talking to an agent, I'm interviewing them almost more than they're interviewing me, right? Because the first couple agents I had, I just signed with them because, wow, they were interested in me, right? And that's not what you need. What you need is an agent who is going to work for you, be a partner on your team, right? A lot of people also think that I get an agent, that's it. I can just sit back and wait for the jobs to roll in, and that ain't the case, right? It really is a partnership and a teaming structure, so that you're submitting, they're submitting. But what you have to look for is somebody who believes in you, right? And who's willing to pitch you, not just submit you. I can do that. I can have Actors Access and submit myself. Now, they see jobs that I don't see because they're on breakdown services, which is the back end of Actors Access, right? So they're submitting me for things that I couldn't submit myself for, but that's all they're doing. Where your agent should be able to call up a casting office and say, look, I know you're casting this show, this movie, this whatever, and I got a guy who's perfect for this role. And so I'd like you to take a look at him rather than just lumping you in with everybody else who's just click submit. And that's one thing.
Yeah, they're a pump, not a filter. But the secret sauce they bring is that they have access to a casting directors, and you're top of mind potentially for them to go.
If they're good.
If they're good.
Right. If they're good. Right. So I made some mistakes there and spent, I didn't really spend any money except to get headshots and, to do some things like that. As I told you, I made mistakes with headshots a number of times until I found Jeremy, and now he's my guy. And trying to think what else I spent money on. I probably spent too much money on a website that nobody visits, and, it's just, but it's cool. It's there. I like it,
You can point somebody to it if they want to see your work, right?
So what I do is I write a weekly blog that I post to my website, and, I've got 300-ish people that are subscribed to the blog, and, I wanted to say this, people who are just getting ready to get started in this, one of the things that I hope I said in the book, can't remember, it's 158 pages, can't remember everything, but at any rate, if you're doing this to earn a living or to get fame or fortune, you are doing it for the wrong reasons. You might as well quit right now. Do it because you love it, because there are going to be long periods when you don't work. I did not work last year at all. And probably because I moved and then I injured my back and I had surgery and I was living in my RV and, just all of these, these reasons, but I didn't work for a year. Now I've had more auditions since January than I did all year last year. But I've not been cast in anything. Hopeful someday. But I get to work, right? I get to do these auditions, and that's what the work is. So
Right.
I told you I've got a pretty big co-star audition that is due on Wednesday, and I'll coach it this afternoon with my mentor, and then probably put it on film this evening or maybe tomorrow morning.
I haven't gotten to the part where you mentioned in the book IMDb. Is there anything about IMDb that anybody should know?
The funny thing about IMDb is, anybody can have an IMDb page and anybody can say they're producing a show. So there's a number of things that I did a scene from one thing that was supposed to be proof of concept, and it still says it's, pre-production or in production, and they've just never gone back and changed it. It's a manual thing, right? You have to go in there and change it yourself. Right. So, the big things about IMDb are it's a great resource. So, if, for example, I'm looking for an agent and I want to know couple resources. I want to know all the big agents in Atlanta, because I'm in the Southeast now. The first thing I do is I go to the SAG website, and they have all the SAG franchised agents by region, and you can search them all. And then you go to IMDb, and you look up that agency, and you get their contact information. You can get their phone number, their address, and email addresses, right? And then if you go to their website, 99 times out of 100, they'll say, we are not accepting any submissions, right? Pretend like you never went to their website, right? Send them an email. Include your headshots, your resume, right? Include a link to your reel, or put together like a 3-character audition reel that is just 90 seconds long, just a little short thing, and send it to them.
Like you see a show you like, it's kind of sort of in our area, maybe like Pennsylvania, and you're wondering how did those guys cast for that? Well, you can reverse engineer that through IMDb and go back and figure out who the casting director were, the agent were, and kind of do what you just said. Right. Not blindly reach out, but very targetedly.
Cold call. It's basically a cold call. And 80% or 85% of the time, they're just going to delete your email because they really aren't looking for anybody. But 10 or 15% of the time, they're going to go, oh, that's interesting. The other thing IMDb is good for is if you get an audition, right? So I got this audition yesterday on a Sunday afternoon. I couldn't believe I got it on a Sunday afternoon. And of course I got excited because it's a co-star role. It's really nice. I'm like, I wonder about this production. So I go to IMDb and I type in the name of the show, and I notice that, while it says 5th season, that's the name of the production company. So they're not in their 5th season, they're in their 0th season, right? But what I did get to see was what other people are cast and who the director is. So then I can take the director and go look at what else he's directed. Right. So I get a sense of the tone, right? So it's very useful and informative, but people put a lot of, they put a lot of weight on it that isn't really there. So I look at Monday morning, I look at my page and see what my ranking is just because it's fun to do it, right? But, that ranking is just how many people looked at your page, right? I mean, it's based on simply that. So if I've submitted 100 times last week, 100 people are going to go look at my page, right? They're going to see what I've done before to decide if I'm worth looking at.
Well, I mean, I think we all know you're worth looking at, Gary. So what about resumes? Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah. So your resume is a dynamic document. It's not a static document, right? So you want to keep the most recent things at the top, right? So if you're going to split it out into like television, theater, movie, whatever things you've worked on, and you're going to put the most recent thing at the top and take the thing at the bottom off because you don't want it to be 7 pages long, right? You want it to be a page, ideally, right? Same thing with training. You could have a training section in there. These casting directors and directors, they want to know that you are constantly training, right? So you're going to put the most recent training at the top and take off the training at the bottom, and then all your special skills. So what is a special skill? Like for me, I was in the Navy, so I could run a combat information center. I know how that works. Well, that's a skill. I was a 20-year Navy veteran.
Driving a stick shift is a skill.
People
pointed that out the other day. I'm like, I wouldn't have thought to put that. But driving a manual,
things
it's kind of a lost art
think
these
about.
days.
Right. I have a motorcycle license.
Right.
That's a skill. Right. I was a frustrated government employee for 20 years. That's a skill, right?
It's a look.
It really is a look, and it's a skill too, because you put me on a show that is portraying some government office, I'm going to act just like a government person would.
So you actually would say something like frustrated government worker.
I wouldn't say frustrated, but but I was a government employee, So the skill, actually, Actors Access does a good job. If you go, they list skills on your Actors Access resume, which is different than the resume you have on a Word document.
Right, different format.
Yeah, different format. They list all these skills that, like kayaking, golfing. I put golfing as a skill, but I wouldn't say I'm very skilled at golfing, right? So,
but you know how to.
But you could credibly look like a golfer,
right?
Exactly.
Right, and that's what goes there.
Yeah.
And the other thing you want to do too is you want to keep track of auditions, right? So I have a spreadsheet that I'm happy to share with you guys if you'd like. You can tell look over a year worth of auditions, and you're looking for a lot of different things. You're looking for what type of roles do you most often get auditions for? What age group do you most likely get auditions for? What casting offices are asking you repeatedly to audition for them? And, that means you did well, right? We usually don't hear anything back from an audition, right? Usually you send an audition off and you walk away and pretend like you didn't do it because it drives you nuts thinking about it all the time, right? So when you keep getting called back by these casting offices, that means they liked your audition. So you can keep track of that, right?
Do you get into different websites in the book? Different, can you discuss those?
So Actors Access, and the most important thing on Actors Access is your resume, but you got to make sure it stays fresh and you're putting the most recent things at the top.
That's the one with the drop-down menus where you have to go and actually fill in the pieces?
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah. And you probably have too many headshots on Actors Access. I know I do. You probably have too many clips and reels on Actors Access. I know I do. But you got to pay to put them up there, so I'm not taking them down.
What would you recommend in terms of number of
No more than 8 is what I'm told.
No, headshots?
Headshots, right.
Different looks.
Different looks.
Got it. Okay.
And what are the, you're using your spreadsheet. What are the looks you're most often being asked to audition for? And those are the looks you put up there, right? And then the other thing is your agent can see this. I don't think casting directors can. They can see the age of your headshot when it was uploaded, not when it was taken, right? So if you can cycle headshots through, take this one off, put a new one up, it's always fresh, right? Your headshots are always, you've always got new headshots up there, right?
That's a great tip.
So, right. And then, the other places that, Casting Networks, Casting Frontier, those are the 3 biggest ones. And then I do all casting just because it's kind of a hoot to see some of those. But at the end of the day, casting directors, agents, they're using Actors Access, breakdown services. Right?
Yeah.
And that's where all the
Seems to be
professional.
the most legitimate.
Right.
So 158 pages.
Right.
You have to have some funny stories in there.
I mean, I'm sure I do. I can't remember anything off the top of my head, to be honest with you. Yeah, I can't think of anything.
I'll tell you a memory I have of being on Dopesick. To go back to that for a second, we were walking in to do that scene that you were talking about at the end of the table. But I remember we walked past a trailer or an RV. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Right. Not only that, yes, I do. It was a Walking Dead, right? It was like Negan's trailer.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just unbelievable. You could crawl in. You watch this on television, and then you crawl in this trailer.
The one that he came out of with the bat when he was introduced, and we're walking past it, and you told me what it was from, and I just stared at it in awe.
It's amazing, right? And the other thing is, there was this the way they do this is just absolutely astonishes me. You've got this, just looks like plywood on the outside, and you open the door and you walk inside and you're in a hotel room, right? And it's a really crappy hotel room because, of course, zombies. And it's like, wow. You're looking around. It's like they've created this reality, this little itty bitty tiny bubble of reality right there. I mean, until you look up and you realize there's no ceiling in the room. But, I mean, it's unbelievable. And the attention to detail is phenomenal. Yeah, just crazy. Same thing on the Dopesick set, right? It's like you see these people in their living room with I'll never forget, the fish tank bubbling, real fish swimming around in it. It's sitting in a warehouse in Richmond, right? It's not really a house.
I mean, super small space.
Super small space, yeah.
Right. You still have the website.
Still have the website.
So how can people find you on the website?
Right. So the website is gary-mason.com. Very easy to remember, right? My email address, gary@gary-mason.com. Nothing, like I said, I'm doing a lot of auditions, and I'm working through this mentorship, which is highly, highly, highly recommend Get Seen Studios and Jesse Malinowski, and he's got a stable of mentors that will work with you, and they're all very, very busy, in a lot of things. They've got the book, Great thing about the book is it's available on Kindle Unlimited. So if you're a member of Kindle Unlimited, just go find it, download it for free. I get paid when you read it, right? So I get paid by page.
We're going to put those sites and those links below in the description here, so you can reach out to Gary if you need. Look out for Gary's book on Kindle, and
Or
if you,
paperback, available in paperback as well.
it's available in paperback on Amazon.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And as always, if you found this episode useful and the content, give us some feedback, give us a thumbs up.
Hit subscribe, find us on the socials, and we'll see you soon.